Come with me into the coaching room for a moment. There you are like a cameo, right? You maybe in your easy chair. I got a good one behind me. And your client sitting across from you. And they are speaking with genuine conviction about something that they can't stop thinking about and something that they really want to change. The idea excites them. It's a dream. The opportunity might feel meaningful, and they can describe it with pristine clarity that makes the path forward seem inevitable. They have you hooked on the edge of your seat and you're excited for them. And by the end of the session, there's this sense of aliveness and alignment in the room. Everyone feels energized. You feel confident that the conversation landed. The actions ahead appear straightforward. And then the following week arrives. And the step that just seems so obvious never happened. And your client maybe doesn't even come back and return apathetic or disengaged. They still care deeply about the outcome. And in fact, often they care enough to feel frustrated or sheepish with themselves. The explanation that appears is usually really thoughtful and sincere. Something came up, they started contemplating something else, they have a concern, etc. So something about the timing felt delicate, or they want to approach a situation carefully so they don't create unnecessary consequences. And at some point, the word motivation begins to hover around the conversation. And the client will wonder whether they simply just need more discipline. And you might even, as their coach, wonder the same thing. Maybe so. But after working with enough people, you'll start to notice something uncomfortable. Motivation is rarely the real constraint. Many of the clients who struggle to follow through are highly motivated. They care deeply about their work. They have shown up powerfully in other contexts. They care about the quality of their relationships and the future that they're trying to build. They might read, reflect, learn. They show up consistently in coaching sessions and out of them. And what they encounter instead is a moment where the action that wants to take place, it puts more pressure on their nervous system than their system is conditioned to carry. Now, before we go further, pop down into the description and take the quiz. We have a Somatic Skins Quiz that makes it really helpful to understand how you and therefore other people organize around 4 particular nervous system patterns when pressure arises. So some people move towards decisive action. Others move up into their head with analysis and justification. Others into adaptation and pivoting and fluidity. And then others into sensitivity, sensing nuance, or relationship awareness. We describe these tendencies as the somatic skins: the warrior, the sage, the shapeshifter, and the asset. And there's a short assessment that you can take for that. So especially if you work with people, many coaches, consultants, healers, what have you, find that once they understand their own embodiment orientation, the behavior that they then observe in clients begins to make a lot more sense. And it's like it unlocks a whole new world. So why wouldn't you want to do it? Okay, so now think about the kind of moments where your clients, they just don't follow through. There are almost always moments where the body predicts a social danger and then the mind will finish the sentence. So the body has the sensation and then the mind justifies the sensation. So this could look like a founder spending weeks thinking through a new strategy for their business. The logic is solid, the opportunities are clear, they walk you through the plan, it makes a lot of sense, it's researched. But then when it comes time to test the new strategy, something subtle happens. Their thinking becomes more elaborate, they kind of got to go back into the plan, new angles appear, they talk to ChatGPT, more variables need to be considered. And what really looked like very clear, deliberate decision, it slowly turned back into more inquiry and more explanation. You'll notice it in their structure, you'll notice it in their breathing, you'll notice it in their eyes. And what the mind often calls careful thinking is often the nervous system just searching for a way to reduce the pressure of committing. In that moment, their mind, maybe even your mind, will still agree with the decision. Nothing really about the solidity of that strategy, the logic has changed. Just now they keep approaching the edge where they actually have to implement, and their body is carrying and feeling that pressure charge. So the nervous system asks a question, usually nonverbal, older than logic. Can we survive? What happens next? Like, what if it doesn't work? What if this? What if this? What if this happens, right? And it spirals out in sensation. Okay, another example, similar dynamic can appear in leadership, A leader recognizes that they have to have a conversation with a colleague. Something has been slightly off. It's affecting team dynamics. It may not even feel like it's anything dramatic, and they've tried to sweep it aside and be like, no, it's fine. I'll just handle it. I'll make it work. But it's becoming a subtle misalignment that both people can feel, but no one is naming. And in conversations with you as their coach, they might articulate that perfectly. They might know exactly, I just need to have a candid, caring, open conversation with them, right? But then every time they go to do it, their posture might shift, their body anticipates the discomforts, their attention fragments, like there's always something else to be taken care of. And so even if they have the conversation, a lot of times their system will cave. It'll water it down. It'll make it really soft or unclear. And so the sentences, the conversation that they talked to you about in the coaching conversation was not the conversation that they had with their team member or colleague, What was very clear in private, it becomes harder to say out loud. And again, that problem had nothing to do with motivation or meaningfulness or clarity. The body had already made its decision about the moment. It's really simple. The body says, this could go bad. And that is a capacity felt sense. So every meaningful action, it places load on your nervous system. We will risk belonging. We will risk stability economically or otherwise, identity or some kind of relationship reputation. And the mind can reorganize and justify correct moves endlessly. But the nervous system, the body, is the one that has to determine whether it can survive what happens next. And it's always searching for that. So when the system senses that whatever is going to happen is manageable, you've either done it before in the past successfully, it's been fine, or you just feel a sense of strength, the action forward becomes simple. Here's what's really interesting, and I'm going to rabbit trail here for a second, and then we'll come back to this point. This can be trained outside of business context. So one of the tools, not the only one, but one of the tools that we use is structural strength building. Deadlifts, squats, horse stance, etc. We don't do this because we just want our clients to be fit, although that's not a bad side benefit, But there is something really powerful when you train the back chain of the body, the one that creates uprightness and structural alignment and strength, the ability to lift, hold, pressure, move, tension. What's so interesting is as that infrastructure, like really, not metaphorically, like literal structure of the body, the musculature, the skeletal alignment, once that strengthens, it's so fun to see how this translates then into relational dynamics like the one I'm describing with this leader, right? So then they'll come into those conversations and their nervous system can sense that they can lift the weight. Now I am using it metaphorically, but they can lift the weight, the pressure of that conversation is manageable. The action forward is doable. And so this is so interesting, because when our nervous system predicts that the moment that we need to have the conversation that we need to have is overwhelming to us, or we will cave or collapse, we can't maintain under the weight, the body will search for other ways to maintain stability. And so for this, from the outside, this will look like procrastination. It will look like relational care or watering down the message. It will look like a lack of discipline, but actually what's happening is protection. So once you start seeing bodies, your coaching clients, yourself through this lens, the work, capital T, capital W, it shifts in a really important way. The question stops becoming whether the client is motivated enough or they don't want it enough. The real question becomes, are we asking that person to do something that they do not have the capacity yet? They have not trained or practiced or rehearsed the capacity to build the nervous system where that change can occur. And so this is why I will die on the hill that just insight is not enough, or telling your clients just be that person more. They actually have to learn to become it. They actually have to develop the infrastructure, the body, the psyche, the nervous system that can hold those changes. So just think about this next time when it appears very easy to you, a client or someone you know, they know a decision needs to be made, but they keep postponing it, or they explore options endlessly, but it just never changes, right? One more conversation will seem useful. It's like the drug of choice. One more piece of information might be helpful, or a little more time might clarify things. But really, are they postponing the moment of truth and change, of action, when consequences become real? As the nervous system becomes more capable of carrying more pressure, the actions that feel difficult will just start to turn surprisingly ordinary. This is the deeper layer of development that we explore inside the Prestige. We use immersive events like catalysts of change that expand your somatic range, and then coaching circles that will develop your presence, decision making, and learn these tools and how to apply them under pressure. So members develop this physiological stability that's required to follow through on decisions, on strategy, on change that's meaningful to them. If that sounds like it's up your alley, do consider joining us for a season. You can reach out to us directly. But the other thing too is, if you want to just hop in on one of these events, they are really fun. Think of it as a night out, but you get to stay in. And they're always testing something deep, not in a lecture-based style, but in an experiential style. And so if that sounds fun, also reach out to us. Let us know that you'd like to join our wait list. Every now and then we open up some guest tickets for these events, and we'd love to have you. So thanks for sticking with me through all of this. If you found it insightful, please do consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out. We want this stuff to reach as many people as possible, and we can't do it without you. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.